All right, next up we have Daydream. Now, this is a visualizer, so I don't know if there's going to be much meat to the video itself, but have a listen and see what you get. Were you a star or a miracle or just a fever from the youth?
길고 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 모든 게 낯설기만 해 너무 많은 감정을 네 옆에 두고 왔나 봐 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 쉽게 잊으라 하기엔 내게 과분할 만큼 기억이 달콤했잖아
엉망이 된 기분 내 머릿속은 재난 눈 떠보니 다시 덩그러니 내 방 꿈만 같았는데 정말 꿈이었나봐 yeah. 기적보다 황홀했던 나의 시선 끝에 세상 그곳에 너는 슬퍼 보였는데 왜일까 떠나야만 하는 나를 알고 있었나 yeah. 현실 감각 없고 빈혈기에 어지러 희미한 기억의 끝자락과 딩갈거리던 기가 남아있는 손등에 물기를 엎질러 아직 숨이 거칠어 yeah, yeah.
길고 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 모든 게 낯설기만 해 너무 많은 감정을 네 옆에 두고 왔나 봐 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 쉽게 잊으라 하기엔 내게 과분할 만큼 기억이 달콤했잖아 It was all a dream, all a dream, all a dream
자는 듯이 비뚤어져 있는 나의 미간 하루가 1년처럼 뒤틀려 있는 시간 이별의 의미를 이제 이해하나 봐 머리에 안개가 낀 듯이 너의 모습이 불투명해 마른 한숨을 내쉬며 그늘진 얼굴 쓸어내려 유연했던 입꼬리는 주저없이 흘러내려 매일 밤 흐느끼겠지 추억의 무덤에서 우리가 주고받던 수많은 질문과 대답 시시콜콜한 농담 뒤에 이어질 웃음소리까지 그걸 어떻게 가슴에 묻어
길고 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 모든 게 낯설기만 해 너무 많은 감정을 네 옆에 두고 왔나 봐 긴 꿈을 꾸었나 쉽게 잊으라 하기엔 내게 과분할 만큼 기억이 달콤했잖아
너는 별이었나 기적이었나 뜨거웠던 청춘의 열병이었나 나나나나나나 hey. 전부 꿈이었나 한숨이었나 외로웠던 젊음의 갈증이었나 나나나나나나 hey.
It was all a dream, all a dream, all a dream It was all a dream, all a dream, all a dream
I will say I'm very pleased with the fact that they called that a visualizer because not everybody does that. I've seen some artists, some groups pass that off as a music video. No, stop it. Stop it. So, good job. I like that song. It was very different than what I was expecting. I am horribly, horribly embarrassed for whoever put these captions here. These subtitles are unacceptable. It is a white duvet and you put yellow text on it under white text. Shame. Get him, Joe. Yep. So I do like that song. I like the vibe. Daydream. Let's read the lyrics. I know some of you were trying to read the lyrics, but you couldn't because you're not a Marvel character. All right, so it looks like the other singer was LeeHi, according to the lyrics here. Daydream. Did I have a long, long dream? Everything is just unfamiliar. I must have left too many feelings by your side. Did I have a long dream? Your memories were too sweet for me to forget easily. I feel like a mess. My head is a disaster. When I open my eyes, my room is hollow again. It felt like a dream, but it must have been a dream. Yeah. The world in my eyes was more ecstatic than a miracle. You looked sad there, but why? Did you know I had no choice but to leave? Yeah. I have no sense of reality, and I get dizzy from anemia. I'm walking somewhere at the edge of the faint memories. You spill water on the back of your hand where the warmth remains, and I'm still out of breath. It was all a dream, all a dream. My forehead is crooked like I'm angry. Time is twisted. A day feels like a year. I now understand the meaning of the breakup. Your face looks foggy in my head. With a dry sigh, I wipe away my gloomy face. The soft corners of my lips folded down. Without hesitation, I will weep every night in the grave of memories. So many questions and answers we exchanged, followed by a cheesy joke. How can I bury even the sound of laughter in my heart? Were you a star or a miracle? Was it the fever of youth? Was it all a dream or a sigh? Was it the thirst of lonely youth? It was all a dream, all a dream. Oh, I love this guy. I love this guy. So let me tell you, Haley pointed something out, which, yes, is true. So as of this week, B.I. is officially enlisted in the military to do his service. I've had this album Deep Dive on my list for a long time. And when the idea came up to do this deep dive this week while he is enlisting, I was torn. I was torn because I didn't want it to seem like, oh, he's enlisting. Now's the perfect time to get stuff out there, get some views. I don't want to be construed that way. But I decided to just say, F it, because, as Haley said, I'm a Marine. I know what it means to enlist. I know what this week will feel like for him on some level. Different countries, different cultures, but military is military in its own right. When you join the military, a lot of things change in your life, regardless of if you are dirt poor and clueless about life and ignorant at 17 years old, or if you are an idol. Life changes. And one of the things that you have to learn very quickly how to manage in a lot of different ways is your emotions, your feelings. So I thought, what better way to dive into this, or what better time to dive into the feelings of this album than right now? I can tell you firsthand, like in this song specifically, all these little lines about forgetting someone's face, remembering a laugh, remembering all these little memories. In my experience, when I was in the military, and everybody handles military life differently, the same way that everybody handles school years differently, or their job differently. Different experiences, different people. Everything B.I. describes here was basically where I survived in my brain through my entire military service. Now, I was in a combat field, so I know that like I needed to do that. I needed to survive here. I had to function here. I had to find a happy place here because out here was not that. And I was not going to make it if I did not have a happy place. And my prediction would be B.I., and I know nothing about B.I. I'm not saying like he's my boy, I'm going to holler at him when he gets out. But from one military person to another, and seeing the way that he writes and how he expresses himself, I would venture to say he's going to take a very similar journey emotionally while he's in serving his time. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. It's a comparison. It's a guess. It's a prediction. Some of the good memories that we have sometimes, even briefly, are all we have. So for us to have the luxury to access them when we need them is kind of crucial for us. I'm very happy that we're doing this tonight because I really do feel like this kind of stuff, this depth, this perspective from another human and how they've lived life and the things that they've experienced, we see moments of relation. We see things that sound similar, that feel similar. And in their own way, even though they weren't meant to, they make us feel heard. They make us feel like we're not as crazy as we thought, you know? Oh, I felt that way. I know what that feels like. Yeah, because you're a human. And that's the way that we deal with things. I love this. I really do love this. Yeah. Very reminiscent of going through depression or a breakup. It's relatable as a whole. Yes. Yeah. I feel like even if you can only relate to one line or one paragraph of any of these songs, it strikes a chord with you, and B.I. does a really good job of articulating things very well. Not everybody does. Now, the one question I do have, it's kind of coming from left field, is this is the second song of, I think, 3, where he mentions anemia. He says, I have no sense of reality, and I get dizzy from anemia. I wouldn't think twice about that, but in one of the last songs, he said emotional anemia. Now, he could be just referencing that previous song and saying he has emotional anemia, or he actually has anemia. I'm not sure. I would be surprised if we saw it a third time, but interesting nonetheless. I really am enjoying this. Oh, I love this. All right, so the next one is called Numb, and I feel like we can already kind of see where this is going. There's no visualizer, there's no MV, but it is called Numb, and I feel like we're starting to see a little bit of the theme, a little bit of the pattern. So I'd be curious to see if that's true. How deep are we going to go? Or better said, how low are we going to go? Are we going to begin to rise towards the end? Now, the album is called Waterfall. Most waterfalls we're familiar with, they go down and they keep going down, but they don't go up. What will B.I. say? Next one is called Numb.
I feel so numb, yeah, yeah. I feel so numb, yeah, yeah. 난 사람이었지. 외로움 가득한 얼굴에 물감을 덧칠한 사람이었지. 사라져가네 모든 기억 속에서 난 살아있었지. 안정감의 부재 아마 그게 내 감정들의 사인이겠지. 거울 속 남자의 동공의 혼란이 범람하네. 세상은 너무도 요란하네. 타인의 절망에 열광하네. 눈 감으면 평안하게. 이 새벽은 너무도 적막하네. 스스로 자신을 속박하네. 이유도 모른 채 불안하네. 모든 게 적당하게. 요즘엔 딱히 재미난 일도 예민할 일도 없고 그냥 조용한 방 안에서 떠드는 TV와 둘이 있고 싶어 점점 더 무뎌지는 난 사는 세상만 추워지는 태어난 척하던 내 얼굴 일그러지는 I feel so numb 무슨 표정을 지어야 할지 어떤 기분이 들어야 할지 모든 감각이 마비된 듯이 기억이 안 나 I feel so numb 슬프지도 기쁘지도 않았어 no 지겹지도 새롭지도 않아 오다 내려놨다고 생각했지만 여전히 무거워 꿈처럼 아득한 그리움 너머에 두고온 추억들이 너무 많아 새벽에 정적을 벗삼아 쳐다보는 외국 영화의 드라마 사랑은 없다는 말에 나는 아마 고개 끄덕였던 것 같아 어쩌면 사람들은 다 소외될까봐 겁이 나서 억지로도 웃음 짓나봐 나도 마찬가지인가 빈 껍데기 같아 빈 껍데기 같아 I feel so numb 무슨 표정을 지어야 할지 어떤 기분이 들어야 할지 모든 감각이 마비된 듯이 기억이 안 나 I feel so numb 슬프지도 기쁘지도 않았어 no 지겹지도 새롭지도 않아 숨겨놓았던 나를 스스로 들춰보기가 난 겁이 나 아플까봐 누군가의 슬픔과 기쁨이 나에게는 와닿지 않아 Oh no no I feel so numb 무슨 표정을 지어야 할지 어떤 기분이 들어야 할지 모든 감각이 마비된 듯이 기억이 안 나 I feel so numb 무슨 표정을 지어야 할지 어떤 기분이 들어야 할지 모든 감각이 마비된 듯이 기억이 안 나 I feel so numb 슬프지도 기쁘지도 않았어 no 지겹지도 새롭지도 않아
I got some thoughts on this one. So first, before I dig into the lyrics, what I want to say is I thought it was interesting. Well, first, to me, the main character of this song, which of course his voice is phenomenal. I love his voice. And who was it? Tay. I like the grit on his voice on this one. Totally agree. I do feel like you can feel the emotion in this. I love that. The main character of this song is the bass. There is a bass here that I think is telling part of the story. Now, that's symbolic. It's a theory, but I'll explain. But what I was going to say was I was surprised that with a song message like Numb, I feel so numb, it's got that kind of gentle but introspective feel in the beginning. But when the chorus comes up, it almost kind of poppy. It really just kind of comes out at you. And it's like, whoa, this doesn't feel like someone saying, I feel so numb, right? But what I think is interesting about that, and this is absolutely a theory, I almost kind of relate it to when you actually say something out loud that's hard to say. For example, and this does kind of go with this, but if you were to start feeling down one day, and it kind of goes on, you're not quite sure what's going on, you can't really articulate it, and then all of a sudden one day you just tell somebody, you're talking, yeah, I just been kind of down, whatever, and then you just kind of say like, you know what, like, I'm depressed, and you actually say the words out loud, it's much louder than the actual volume of the words themselves, if that makes sense. It's symbolically louder. It's important. It's a loud message regardless of how loud you say it. It's important that you say it. So I almost took these choruses as like a proclamation of, I'm acknowledging the fact that I just feel so numb, and there's a frustration to it. Where the bass comes in, if you've ever experienced prolonged depression, the bass almost kind of tells the story. I'm going to play a piece. I don't know if I'll find the right piece, but there's several points where the bass is hit and that note kind of goes, and they might change notes, but the note and the vibration sits on the top of the song and it just hangs. And it goes for longer than you think it should, but it's still going. And it just kind of hangs over you. That to me felt incredibly important, incredibly symbolic, but important for what I think the song is trying to say. Now let's check out the lyrics. I feel so numb. I was a person painted over a face full of loneliness. Was a person disappearing in all my memories. I was alive, lack of security, maybe that's my feelings. It'll be a signature. Confusion floods the man's eyes who is in the mirror. The world is so noisy. Passionate about the despair of others. I wish you peace when you close your eyes. This morning is so quiet. Bind yourself up. I'm anxious without knowing why. Maybe everything is right. Now, that line right there is kind of exactly what I just said. It kind of starts with this lingering feeling, but you don't know what it is. You don't even know if it's real. It's almost like just something doesn't feel right. You kind of think it's something external, but it's actually here. You know what I mean? But you're not sure. I'm anxious without knowing why. Maybe everything's right. Okay. And you just kind of go with it. Nothing is fun these days. I have nothing to be sensitive about, just in a quiet room. I want to be with the talking TV. I'm getting more and more numb. The world I live in is getting colder. My face that used to pretend to be okay is now distorted. Now, this is super interesting. The way that he words this, like when I talk about the way that he uses these very poetic ways of articulating things, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The talking TV giving us noise, giving us distraction, because then we can just we can be with that noise. And that's fine. That is our safety blanket. That's what we need. That's the noise to kind of drown out whatever's going on up here. Got it. My face that used to pretend to be okay is now distorted. Now, some of you can relate to what I'm about to say. Some of you can't, and that's fine too. There comes a point when you are in so much pain, whether it's physically or emotionally or whatever, where you cannot hide it anymore. And it doesn't matter how tough you think you are, it just comes out. Your face distorts and your emotions win. It happens to everybody. Everybody. That line right there is perfect. And you notice that there is like chronology here. It's not just like, bam, I'm numb, I'm sad, I'm depressed, and then I'm just going to keep talking about that for 3 minutes. We're actually seeing the arc of things take place. I feel so numb. What to look like, how I should feel if all senses were paralyzed. I don't remember. I feel so numb. I'm neither sad nor happy, neither boring nor new. I put it all down. Thought it was still heavy. So many memories I left behind with the stillness of dawn as a friend. I stare at the subtitles of foreign films. saying there is no love. I think I nodded. Maybe everyone will be left out. I'm afraid I'm forcing myself to smile more. Am I the same? I'm like an empty shell. I feel so numb. What to look like, how I should feel, if all senses were paralyzed, I don't remember. I'm afraid to reveal the version of myself that I hid. I'm afraid it will hurt. Nobody's sadness and joy reaches me anymore. I feel so numb. What to look like, how I should feel, if all senses were paralyzed, I don't remember. I'm afraid to reveal the version of myself that I hid. I'm afraid it will hurt. This is something that I think most people that experience depression or even grief, for that matter, there are similar emotions that I think fit into this category, but I think it's something that we learn through experiencing it. I'm afraid to reveal the version of myself that I hid. I'm afraid it will hurt. That's true. It does. But here's the catch that most people don't think about. It's going to hurt regardless. If you keep everything inside, it's going to hurt for longer and longer. And it will stay there and it will grow. If you get it out in some way, whether you talk to somebody, you acknowledge what you're experiencing, even if you just say it out loud, and then you just kind of let it sit into the void. That is a different kind of hurt. But what's interesting is, while that hurts in its own way, it actually kind of dissipates what we feel here, even if just for a time. It helps. I don't know if I'm articulating the right way that it helps, but it does. Again, I think this is really, really smart on BI's part because he's really encapsulating what this experience can feel like. Right. The same way that crying can help. Yep. It just, we don't understand it. Like, think about it from a very, very functional logistic standpoint. When you get, as a human being, when you get so much sadness or any emotion in your body, happiness, whatever, sadness, grief, depression, when you get so much of it, you literally start leaking. Now, the aliens would go, huh? Out of where? Well, that's a good question. We'll get to that later. But mostly your face. Huh? What does that do? We don't know. It just kind of relieves the pressure. Huh. And that's really what happens. We don't know why it works that way. I mean, hell, I don't know. Maybe some scientist somewhere does. But the point is, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just the way it is. We have ways of releasing the pressure because we have to. Sometimes it's not by choice. Sometimes your body just forces you into it, whether that's crying or a panic attack and you can't breathe. The body finds ways. You can avoid all of that unpredictable lack of control by taking control and actually talking to somebody, a friend, partner, a counselor, whatever, getting it out there, putting it out into the void. That's less pressure in here. And then now that pressure, those words are now distributed much more out into the open from me to you. Oh, I really do love the way this guy writes. Man, so good. Numb. I mean, with this many tracks on the album, I would be surprised if this theme carries through the whole time. I kind of hope that it does because I love the way he writes, and I think following that journey with somebody from their perspective would be super interesting. Oh, I like that. A problem shared is a problem halved. I like that. Yep. I like that. You know how you get an almost vibration or static feeling when you hand or something, in your hand or something goes numb? It feels very similar to if you put your hand on a bass speaker, it has a deep vibration. Another thing I'd like, are you doing your hand asleep, take the pressure off? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's like distributing the energy. Yes, very well put. So let's see where we go from here.